True love. Well, what would true love be if it wasn't where we get to accept each other with appreciation alongside our flaws? I mean, after all, we all have them, so without appreciating them and lifting each other up, which is why we don't bring our mood swings into the room. The people who still need therapy, they will be the ones who go to therapy because therapists help people to learn how to tap into their emotional plane and then to move into, oh, look, I have an adaptive child behavior pattern. I try to be right all the time. I don't want to do that. And so once they're ready to be pachas, they come over and do self help, personal development, and the spiritual awakening guidance because that's when they'll be awoken. True spirituality is a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. And so it's only when you are integrated capacity. So you say, oh, I have emotions. I have a pebble in my shoe. Hey, you know what? I want to talk about my pebble. I won't throw it at you. Okay, so we get to be the Pachas of the world, not the Peter Pans, not the Pinocchios. IHP, come on over, healing trauma one person at a time, relationships with self-help, even though the trauma, it's healable by the person who owns the trauma charges and then uncharges. And then we have bigger trauma, and that's why Pat Ogden, sensory motor, Peter Levine, bones, muscles, tissues, store trauma, Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory. True love is when you are in the securely attached body of yours with the oxytocin gene hormone on. So when you're in your social engagement system. Terry Real with the lovely functional adult in your prefrontal cortex is when you're going to present to somebody, hey, you know what? I had these things called feelings when you did that one thing. And so here's my story. That one thing you did, I was upset about it. And you know what? This is what would help to make it better. Can you meet me halfway or something? So if somebody says no, we'll accept it. If somebody says yes, we'll accept it. Now, wait a minute, because if it's romantic, it's a whole different story. So romantic means I'm building a home with you, and so that's going to go differently, which is why we lift each other up. And that's because love is supporting each other to fly. This is my quote. And love lifts you up when you are down, and it soars the skies with you when you're up. Love is always there. Because when you're down, I get to be your safe haven, secure base if you want me to. Safe haven means I help you to self-regulate. And that's why secure attachment relationships are decided by people together. And that's with polyamory or monoamory. You decide together if you want, you talk about it, but that would require people to be self-aware. What I've noticed is most people are not aware of their self. So we're going to create a group of people here at IHP. We get to be aware of ourselves and then chit chat. And so what I'm trying to say is if you want a person to help you to soothe your 1-year-old and your 3-year-old, when you're in a mood, you don't bring it to the room. You say, hey, you know what? I had this day. And again, it's not that it's a perfect anything. That's why we appreciate each other for being raw, genuine, authentic. So it means, first of all, that you know how to fart in front of someone and say, oh, I'm so sorry, I farted. Not in public, though. And even though if it happens, you don't need to feel shamed either, because if it happens, I'm sure it was not on purpose, unless you're a disgusting teenager who actively thinks that burping like a disgusting human being is actually cool, which I've seen people who then grow up and continue to do so. And while some will say, but you curse, Maria, I'll be like, yes, but cursing in the year 2024 is different than certain types of burps that you actively like, wow, you actively are behaving in this way with mannerisms that make me think you didn't get taught how to put your hand in front of your mouth. So, obviously, again, nobody's rigid. So it's not like, oh my God, you're a rude person. No, I'm just going to say it's pretty disgusting. Makes me want to throw up. But then again, see, I can explain why I feel that it's disgusting. Reminds me of vomit. So my body's reminded of vomiting when somebody's burping like a certain way. And that's why all of our experiences, they're subjective. So I was just able right now to explain to you something and why it would bother me and why I would want someone to stop, and I would not be living with a person like that. No, you're not romantic. You actually, the minute that you do that, I'm going to be like, okay, you're reminding me of a bunch of men that I have in my brain, and there's stereotypes right now, and they are all the men that probably follow the one dude who talks to you about why men don't text you back. And that after they fuck you, they feel contempt and disgust for us women. And then shame. I don't know for us. I'm not really sure how to take that one. Okay, so with that being said, True love is accepting each other with appreciation alongside the flaws that obviously we are. So in my idea, mental and emotional is what equates the intelligence of you. So if you are going to lift me up, it's because you do know how to work with your nervous system. If you don't, that's why, as I was saying, true love is when you can love yourself first and then me, and not basically be projecting your attitude or your tone or any of that. Okay, so using your prefrontal cortex is easy here at IHP. It's something you desire if it's not easy, and you don't want to do this thing called let me deny and become defensive about the emotional reaction. So let me justify when you're pinpointing something towards me or to me or with me. Okay, so yeah, some rupture and repair that helps you to create more resiliency, which is why people who don't want to do self-help, they're like, I want to do it. They don't want to create more resiliency. Now, this is where Ed Tronick gave it for babies, 1-year-old babies and first 3-year-old babies. So secure attachment when you're being raised. But if you already did learn how to securely regulate yourself, you keep on doing it, you don't have laundry anymore in your body. See? So true love, oxytocin gene hormone. Why? Because your secure attachment body is in the love hormone. When you're in visceral, that's not your secure attachment. So people who think that people who basically are treating each other like objects in bed, and they have non-bilateral integration, and then they go to therapists. The therapists help them to get to appreciation, open-heartedness, but what I found out is that they don't want to be vulnerable even at the therapist room. So we have 2 groups of people at the very least. The ones who want to do emotions, so again, they went to therapy or are doing therapy, and then they come on over and say, I want to also do more, because why wouldn't I choose the path of enlightenment with love? It's beautiful. I get to overflow with humanity. Divinity even descends. I get to be expanding consciousness. So it's all great and fun. Yes, I know you don't lose people. 4D mystics, they lose people because they talk about their brothers and sisters and their oversoul. So they turn their back on their twin flame and flames, and they start use all these other names. Others of them, they talk about energy vampires and dark auras and people that are crabs pulling them down in a bucket. So they apparently don't know how to say to somebody they love, hey Sid, hey Manny, hey Diego, I'm Pacha, nice to meet you, hey Pinocchio. Okay, so Pacha again, we use Pacha because Pacha has integrity, no ill will. When Cusco does what he does, Pacha all the way, and even at the end, Pacha, functional adult, which is a restorative embodiment, self-aware, integrated brain human being. It's a Dr. Daniel Siegel, Bezel van der Kolk, Peter Levine, you name it. There's a bunch more. Jesus was one of them. Buddha also. Restorative embodiment, self-aware person. Sadhguru is one of them. So when you meet true love, you will meet integrated brain. It's called kindness and compassion. But we will know that those who do not have healthy self-worth, they're not reliant on their sense of self. They're not reliant on their self-worth. They don't know about their childhood trauma, and they don't know apparently about Patrick Tiahan and how he shares how we can define that which is childhood trauma. So let me remind you, in case you did not hear the other episodes, because this is a good data point. Patrick Tiahan shares, we can define childhood trauma as abuse of perception in children and lack of connection with healthy caregivers. So a functional adult is a healthy lover because they won't be asking of you anything except for you to be you. I accept you for who you are. I will not be lying to you. I will be with integrity. No ill will. This is not a special gift. It's an open heart because you have healthy self-worth, which is why you don't keep somebody on a string. It's also why when twin flame or flames and all that stuff that people talk about chasing and running, no, we have conversations. You're the one. I'm not the one. Okay, cool. That's great and dandy. Is it this simple? It's simple in the sense that we accept. And for my poly secure community, you know about compersion, but even before being polyamory, I knew compersion. Compersion is, let's get the definition of that. For anyone who understands this, it's called when a person has a 1-year-old that is whole, who knows how to be happy for all people. Why? I would want you to be happy for me. Look, I live beyond the solo self, but where did it stem from? Me. So I can totally be selfish like anybody else who would say, you're selfish. True love doesn't exist. Because there's all these objections that people have for goodness. And that's why we even can get rid of the word goodness. Get rid of all of them. I could use basically very simple, straightforward equations of I'm using my prefrontal cortex. I'm thinking, how do I want to be treated? I like honesty. I like you to tell me everything in my face. I don't take things personally. I think it's pretty straightforward. Don't hit me. I will call the cops on you. Oh, you can use your mouth however you may wish. I actually don't take things personally. I learned as an adolescent not to. That was the last time I think I was sensitive. I wrote, I'm very sensitive. I need to learn how not to be. I learned. It was, I'm going to keep my heart open because really I can while you're speaking these words because really they don't mean anything. I don't fear inadequacy. You actively don't know how to handle yourself. Compersion is how to handle yourself. Jesus taught me all about it. The state of happiness, joy, or pleasure, and God did too. When he had the whole Cain and Abel thing happen, I was like, hey, God, you could have made them both be okay. You didn't have to do it that way. What kind of an example do you think it is? But I definitely won't be doing any of what they did because I have a twin and I got taught how to behave and I agree with it. My heart feels good being able to treat another human being good. So if that's selfish, fine, but I'm not going to treat anyone bad. Why would I? Now, if I'm physically threatened, that's me needing to protect myself. Anyone? Anyone? So, state of happiness, joy, or pleasure that comes from the delighting in other people's happiness. And in non monogamy, that means specifically to when positive feelings experienced when your lover is having a positive experience with one of their other lovers. Now, here's where people who don't know polyamory, oh my gosh, they're hilarious. They're like, what? Are you saying that you're not jealous? Yes, that's actually what I'm saying. How many people do I need to hear this from? I was a teenager and sat down and told I can't love people, all people, because otherwise you don't love. And now that I have all these sciences people, thank you so much, sciences people. Let's talk some more, shall we, about what people have found it hard to believe that my first 3 years of life. Yes, I know. I didn't know anything about it. I just learned from Jesus how to treat people. And I learned how people play differently because of my twin. So I was disowned. That was my big heartbreak. At 8 years of old, I found out my thoughts and feelings were not irrefutable facts and that you can't get disowned. I'm not joking. You cannot. So I still remember being explained, you can't get disowned. You still have a sister, because I completely thought I had no more sister. That was hilarious. I'm laughing about it now. I was crying about it at my 8 years of age. Okay, so when people don't know about their childhood trauma, they will have had an abuse of the perception. The perception of their self has been distorted, and the perception of others. So they have a trust break, which is why they don't trust in love, and they don't. When they meet a healthy human being, they're like, that's an evil bitch, evil witch. I know it, and they go back to the ones who treat them in the same way that an unsafe environment. Just think of Diego and the herd of Diego. And that's where you find people who are not with good therapists and they actually abandon each other, and then they call movies like Hangover real and Mean Girls, and they treat people and say people are mean and all that stuff. So as the light goes down, I will let us go. When we appreciate each other with our flaws and imperfections, it is because we can talk in each other's faces while lifting each other up. So you appreciate every person for being who they are through thoughts and emotions. They don't need to think or feel life the way you do, and that's very easy for those of us who have secure attachment and who are functional adults. Apologies for the lighting. It's playing games on us, but it's okay. Between the yellow, red, and green, I'm thinking heart chakra. And the yellow and red and orange, actually, I'm thinking sacral, intuitively. So, and then crown. Crown is what's coming through. We have had an amazing full moon. The energies are still lingering. I might be able to get us another episode. We'll find out. But in the meantime, true love again. Accepting each other with the appreciation of we all have differences. So flaws are flaws because of that. But we talk about them and then we accept that, which is very important to each and every one of us, because you can always find a way to work it out. We can work it out. That's for the functional adults. So again, healthy self-worth people, we love each other to the unconditionally death of us, and we learn how to love more, not less, and that's why 5D Mystics, come on over. We're going to have a good time, and thank you again for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.